You've already won the argument, and it hasn't even happened. You're lying there, lights off, phone face down. And your mind is pacing the room like it's waiting for someone to knock. You're rehearsing sentences you hope you'll never need, explaining yourself to someone who isn't there, defending a version of you that hasn't been attacked. And the strange part is how prepared you feel, and how tired you are because of it. You imagine what they might say, the tone, the pause before the words land, the look on their face when they misunderstand you. You already know how it would feel. That tight drop in your chest, that heat behind your eyes, that urge to be clear, to be precise, to finally say it right this time. You practice quietly, over and over. You tell yourself it's just thinking, just being ready, just not wanting to be caught off guard again. But there's something heavier underneath, something unspoken. It's not about the argument. It's about what it would mean if it happened. Because arguments in your mind aren't loud fights. They're moments where you might lose control of the story. Moments where someone might decide who you are without asking you. So you stay awake. You prepare. You build sentences like armor. You imagine the perfect response, the calm one, the one where you don't stumble, the one where your voice doesn't shake. You imagine finally being understood. And then your mind keeps going, because it never stops at one ending. What if they interrupt you? What if they laugh? What if they twist your words? What if you freeze? What if you remembered a perfect reply too late? You've been here before. That's the part no one sees. This isn't imagination for fun. This is memory trying to protect itself. Somewhere in your past, there was a moment you didn't get to explain. A moment where you were misunderstood and it stayed with you. Not loudly, quietly. Maybe you were too young, too emotional, too slow, or just not believed. So now your mind works overtime, like a guard who never clocks out. You prepare for arguments that never happen because your nervous system doesn't trust silence. Silence feels temporary, like something bad is loading, so you fill it with scenarios. You replay conversations from years ago. You hear what you should have said, what you wish you had said, what you might say if it ever comes up again. And the exhausting part is how real it feels. Your body reacts, your heart speeds up, your jaw tightens, your shoulders rise like you're bracing for impact, all for a conversation that exists only in your head. You don't do this because you enjoy conflict. You do it because you fear being caught unprepared. There's a deep need inside you to be fair, to be accurate, to not be misread. You don't want to win arguments. You want to be seen correctly. That's why your mind doesn't just argue. It explains. It clarifies. It adds context. It rewinds. You're not fighting them. You're fighting the possibility of being reduced, being seen as the wrong version of yourself. And at night, when there are no distractions, that fear gets louder. The house is quiet. The world is asleep. And your thoughts finally have space to speak, so they line up, one after another. You imagine defending your intentions, not your actions. Your intentions? Because that's what hurts the most. When someone misunderstands why you did something, you can live with mistakes, but being misunderstood feels like erasure. So you prepare, just in case. And you tell yourself it's logical. It's smart. It's being ready. But deep down, there's a younger part of you that's still waiting to be interrupted. Still waiting to be told they're wrong. Still waiting to not be believed. That part never got closure. So your mind gives it endless rehearsals. What you don't notice is how lonely this preparation is. You're having conversations without connection, arguments without voices, closure without resolution. You finish one imaginary conversation. Instead of relief, there's another one waiting, different person, different setting. Same tight feeling. And you wonder why you're so tired when you haven't done anything all day. This is why your mind has been on stage for hours, performing, defending. Always alert, always ready. Even now, as you listen to this, part of you is checking. Does this apply to me? Am I being understood? You don't relax easily, not because you don't want peace, but because peace feels unfamiliar. Your system is used to anticipation. You learn somewhere along the way that being ready is safer than being calm. So you stay ready. You imagine conversations with people you haven't spoken to in years. You practice boundaries you've never set. You prepare apologies you'll never give. And sometimes you win those arguments. You walk away feeling clear, strong, validated. And for a moment, there's relief. But then the next scenario starts forming because the goal was never to finish. The goal was to stay protected. And protection doesn't know when to stop. There's something tender about this. Even if it doesn't feel that way, your mind is trying to keep you safe from emotional surprise, from being cornered, from being silenced. It's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to make sure you're never powerless again. But it doesn't realize that the battle is happening in a place where no one else is fighting. So you carry the weight alone. And sometimes in the middle of the night, there's a quiet moment where you pause. You ask yourself why you're still doing this, why your chest feels tight over something that hasn't happened. You almost notice how much energy this takes. Almost. And then the next sentence appears in your mind. Sharper, better. So you keep going. You don't even notice when the argument ends. Because there's no clear ending. No door closing. No silence that feels earned. It just fades. And you're left there, heart still racing, body still tense. You want a debate that never existed. And somehow you still feel exposed. That's the confusing part. You think preparing will bring relief. You think finishing the imaginary conversation will let you rest. But rest doesn't come because the relief you're looking for was never inside the argument. It was inside the hope that this time you'd finally be safe. Safe from being questioned. Safe from being doubted. Safe from that familiar feeling of having to prove you meant well. You notice how, in these imagined arguments, you're always explaining your heart. Not just your actions, your heart. You say things like, I didn't mean it that way. That's not what I was trying to do. You don't know how much I care. Those sentences come easily, like they've been waiting. Because you've said versions of them before, out loud, and they didn't land. So now, you say them in your head, where no one can interrupt you, where no one can twist your words, where you finally get to finish the sentence in your mind. You are calm, measured, clear. You don't cry. You don't freeze. You don't forget what you meant to say. You are the version of yourself you wish you could always be under pressure, and that version feels comforting. But there's a quiet cost to living there, because every time you rehearse, you're reminding yourself that something bad could happen, that someone might misunderstand you. That peace is fragile. So even when things are calm in real life, your body doesn't fully believe it. You're waiting for the shift, the tone change. The moment when someone says, we need to talk, your mind stays one step ahead, just in case. And people around you might think you're relaxed, or quiet, or easygoing. They don't see the parallel world running quietly inside you. They don't hear the conversations you're carrying, the arguments you're resolving alone. Sometimes you catch yourself preparing responses to someone who hasn't spoken in days, weeks, years, and you don't even question it anymore. It feels normal. But there's a sadness hidden in that normal, because it means part of you is always bracing, always alert, always slightly pulled away from the present moment. Even during good moments, even during laughter, even during connection. There's a part of you listening for danger. You've trained yourself to anticipate disappointment, not because you're pessimistic, but because you're sensitive. You feel things deeply, so deeply that you'd rather prepare for pain than be surprised by it. And that makes sense. If being misunderstood once hurt you badly enough, your mind learned the lesson. Never again without a defense. So you prepare speeches you hope you'll never need. You imagine boundaries you might one day have to enforce. You rehearse calm tones for moments that haven't arrived. And sometimes you catch yourself feeling guilty for it. Why can't I just relax? Why can't I stop thinking? Why am I like this? But those questions only add another layer of tension, because underneath all of this isn't weakness. It's care. You care how you come across. You care about fairness. You care about being honest and clear and kind. You just learn to protect that care by over-preparing. And here's the quiet truth you rarely hear. The arguments you rehearse aren't really about other people. They're about you wanting permission to exist without defending yourself, to speak without justifying, to feel without explaining, to be without anticipating a counter-argument. You're tired of carrying your own courtroom in your head, where you're both the accused and the defense. Tired of proving your innocence to no one. And maybe tonight, as you're listening to this, something feels different. Not fixed, not resolved. Just noticed, maybe for the first time, you see, that this habit wasn't random. It wasn't pointless. It was protective. And maybe that realization softened something in you, just a little. You don't need to stop the thoughts right now. You don't need to force quiet. Just noticing them is enough for this moment. Not judging, not arguing with yourself. Just noticing how much effort you've been putting into staying safe. And maybe in this exact moment, there's no argument to prepare for. No one is questioning you. No one is misunderstanding you. Right now, you're allowed to rest your mind where it is, even if the thoughts come back later, even if the rehearsals return tomorrow. This moment doesn't have to be productive or defended. It can just exist. And if that feels unfamiliar, that's okay. You spent a long time preparing for battles that never arrived. Of course, stillness feels strange. But maybe tonight you don't need to win anything. Maybe it's enough to let your thoughts sit beside you instead of standing guard. Just for now.